Eric uses 10 feet of his movement speed to reach Dane and will use his action to stabilise him. He will need to succeed on a DC 10 Wisdom Medicine check. He turns Dane face up out of the water and attempts to rouse him. "Come on, Dane, don't be dead." He fails. He cannot rouse Dane from unconsciousness. Eric abandons him to his fate and uses the rest of his movement speed to take cover in the western passage. The Goblin will ready its bow. If Eric appears from out of the western passage, then the Goblin will fire an arrow straight at him. The Goblin will use its reaction to do this. Dane must now make a death saving throw. He fails, creeping closer to death. Dane has one success and one failure so far. Eric scrambles up the western passage, seeking the aid of the other characters who are not aware of the conflict. He makes it halfway up the passage, but it's enough for the other characters to see him. Eric bares his teeth and gestures with the thumb over his shoulder to let the others know as best he can that danger lies below. The characters will enter the combat initiative in the next round. Meanwhile, the Goblin holds its bow ready. Dane succeeds on his death saving throw, rolling initiative. Eric moves back down the western passage and using the north wall as cover, he peers up at the bridge. As soon as he does this, the Goblin uses its reaction to fire an arrow. Eric has 3/4 cover, so he gets a +5 bonus to his armor class. The arrow misses Eric's head, but not by that much. The Goblin simply readies another arrow. The elf moves forward to take Eric's place. He whispers a few mysterious words and holds out his hand. A crow suddenly appears and flutters out into the cave for just a brief moment before disappearing entirely. A simple cantrip. But will it be enough to trigger the Goblin's reaction? The Goblin will make an intelligence check. The Goblin fails. It's taken in by the simple illusion and fires its arrow before it realises what it has seen. Kerry sees her chance now. She scrambles down the western passage as fast as she can, moves out into the open and stands guard over Dane. She fires an arrow from her longbow straight at the Goblin. She misses. Hassaid moves in, taking position alongside Kerry. He throws a javelin toward the Goblin on the bridge. Hit! The javelin does 1d6 +3 piercing damage. The javelin pierces the Goblin's heart. It slumps forward against the bridge ropes and falls, hitting the stream with a splash. Hassaid moves up to the corpse and retrieves his javelin. Dane succeeds on a third death saving throw and becomes stable. However, he is still unconscious. The party carry Dane's body into the western passage, where they lay low and take a short rest. During the rest they rouse Dane awake with water from his water skin. Dane will spend his hit die to regain hit points. He makes a strong recovery, gaining 10 hit points. Kerry does the same. She is now on 8 hit points. Without wasting any more time, the party scrambles up the western passage once again. Kerry snuffs out her torch, and they manage as best they can with Eric's hooded lantern to prevent giving themselves away. The party must decide how to deal with the goblins in the large cave to the west of them. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. If you'd like to know more about how I run my solo games, please visit solodungeoncrawler.blogspot.com or follow me on Twitter at crawlersolo. Eric sneaks stealthily into the midst of the Goblin den. He strives to conceal himself amongst the dark shadows of the rear wall. He will need to perform a dexterity stealth check to succeed in his task. He gets a +7 to his roll. He rolls a 2, totaling 9. The goblins have a passive perception of 9, so this is just enough for him to remain concealed. One goblin's senses are aroused. Its ears twitch as it imagines there is movement to be heard. It musters just enough motivation to glance around lazily, but does nothing more, allowing itself to believe that all is well. Eric grimaces menacingly as he peers out from his dark abode. His impulse urges him to strike now and take one of these green-brown devils from behind. Because he is unseen, he will gain advantage on his attack roll. He draws his short sword and strikes out at the nearest goblin. His highest roll, which includes his +5 attack bonus, is 12. The goblins have an armor class of 15. It's not enough. At the very moment he lunges out with his short sword, the goblin moves closer to the cookfire, narrowly missing the bite of his blade. Eric has missed his chance, and with this failed display of bravery, all the goblins are now alert and dramatically aware of his intrusion. They cry out in alarm and prepare to slay the unwelcome halfling. Initiative rolls. Dane is at the top of the initiative order. He hears the commotion from within the western passage. He can easily make it into the goblin den with his movement speed. Being cautious following his close encounter with death, he decides to throw a hand axe from the western passage. He has a +4 attack bonus and needs a 15 to hit. As an unseen attacker, he gets advantage on the roll. He must still be a little shaken from his run-in with death. His highest roll was only a 9, his other a natural 1. The axe embeds itself into the cave wall on the far eastern side. The goblins are now fully alerted to any threat from within the passage. 3 of the goblins surround Eric. Each one will get an attack. The other 3 pull back and ready their short bows. In the event that any character comes through the western passage, they will attempt to pierce them with an arrow. First, I will roll 3 attacks against Eric. All 3 absolutely hit. 3d6 +2 damage. The attacks are awkward, and several of the scimitars scrape each other as much as they manage to cut Eric. However, they do 9 damage in total, and Eric only has 3 hit points. The goblins easily cut him down. He will need to start making death saving throws at the start of his next turn. The elf moves up the western passage, carefully taking cover against the south wall. 3 arrows fly towards him. I will grant the elf 3/4 cover. He gains a +5 bonus to his armor class. None of the arrows find their target. The elf holds out a hand as he leans around the entrance to the goblin den. He mutters something in Elvish, and suddenly 3 glowing darts of magical force fly from his fingers. This is a magic missile spell. The elf has expended one of his 2 spell slots to use this. Each dart will do 1d4 +1 force damage against each of the 3 goblins who attacked Eric. The darts are not enough to bring any of the goblins down. Eric must now perform his first death saving throw. It's a natural 20. Eric regains a hit point. Hesed moves into the den quickly, draws his great axe and strikes at one of the goblins attacking Eric. He easily hits and will do 1d12 plus 3 slashing damage. Just 6 damage, but it's enough. His great axe chops a goblin down. Kerry follows Hesed's example, striking at one of the other goblins with her greatsword. She also hits for 2d6 plus 2 slashing damage. Another goblin now lies dead on the ground. In the second round of combat, Dane also charges into the den. His warhammer raised above his head, he strikes at one of the goblin archers. A natural 1. As he attempts to bring the warhammer down, the sheer weight of it pulls Dane off his feet. He trips and falls prone, but from the floor he glances up towards Eric and prays to his god, Marthomor Duin, while grasping hold of his holy symbol, a boot overlaid by an upright mace on a necklace made of silver and iron. Will the party manage to overcome the goblins and rescue the prisoner? Or will they all end up on the cooking fire? Find out next time. If you enjoy my content and would like to send a small donation to show your appreciation and help support this channel so it can continue to grow and expand, then please visit paypal.me/TomDnD. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, as this lets me know you want me to keep making more. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. I always consider the feedback I receive and try to apply it to future videos to make them better. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you next session.